for another shooting today and just reflect and send our thoughts and prayers to the families in South Florida. Thank you, sending caring thoughts to families everywhere. Makes this job seem a little, just a little ordinary. So our first agenda item is approval of the minutes from the January 2018 meeting. I want to acknowledge Denise for all her hard efforts there. That was a lot of discussion at last month's meeting, which was good, but it's a lot for you to keep all coming together and make sense out of.
I want to make a comment that the only thing that's really required of us these days is like action items and very, very brief descriptions. However, I don't think that the extra stuff is bad at all when you go back to try to understand what really happened. So until such time as we have, I'm the person doing the minutes or something, and Denise can't do it anymore, or whatever, or Denise just says, I've had it, I'm quitting if you make me do this this way. I think you could probably feel free to condense somewhat, but I think it is nice to have that fuller explanation, but it's kind of technically not required of all of us now because they just recently changed that. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay. Thanks for pointing it out. But I do appreciate a little bit of the context because sometimes you wonder what was the discussion that got you to that decision. Exactly. Saves us from having to remember what did we.
Well, and we can always go back and view this, which Denise actually does quite frequently. If she forgets something or whatever, she's the first to hop online, and she does that really well. But for the rest of us, it's probably just as easy to read about it if she doesn't mind. So
great, thank
you.
you.
Appreciate it.
Basically, that was our homework.
To read minutes? Yeah, you're supposed to read everything I send you, Ken, everything.
Some of the best minutes I've ever seen.
And so I'm going to make an assumption everybody did have an opportunity to read them prior to the meeting. Were there any corrections? It's okay if I could have a motion to approve the minutes from January?
So move.
In a second?
Second.
So it's been moved and second to approve the January 10th, 2018 Library Board minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So the minutes are approved. I forgot to ask if there were any other additions or changes to the agenda. I should have started there. If there's anything else any other agenda items that we didn't make it on. Okay. So the next agenda item is the library director's report.
Alrighty.
Which there is a lot.
There is always a lot going on in the library. So I just, use this as an opportunity to keep you guys abreast of all the kind of daily ins and outs and the bigger projects that are going on. And, the building, the building is kind of funny. We're done with the building, but we're not really done with the building. So for instance, as I was telling the Friends Board just before this, there are, was it 2 park benches? I don't know how many park benches. Just got replaced. They are finally the right park benches. What's been there have been the wrong park benches. And not only were they the wrong park benches once, they were the wrong park benches 3 times. So the contractors just let them be installed, so something was there, and said, we will stay on this, stay on this, stay on this. So some got installed last week, I think, and they're the right park benches. So, it's funny, we're still kind of wrapping up little details from, so, being done is you're never really done. And then Haley Purdy, who was our construction architect. So she wasn't the design architect. She worked with the building committee and the contractors to implement the plans. She will be working with us on some extra things, which I have mentioned a few times, but it's kind of like we finally got her attention and she got back in the building. So one of them is noise issues. One of them is separating the children's desk from the hello desk a little bit more. And she will be hopefully helping us get some shades for the clear story where the sun comes in too brightly, which is a horrible problem to have, not. And then we still need to work on some signage and stuff like that. And those kinds of things I can just kind of work directly with the subs on. But everybody is so busy that it's really hard to get their attention. You know, so this is just like the song that never ends, really is the way I look at it. And I will not start singing that for you, although I'm really tempted.
No, it's already on the room, sorry.
Yeah, right.
And will those things require additional funds, or are they part of the still?
Those will require additional funds, but we have additional funds, because as you may remember, we came in on time and under budget. So we have enough to cover those things. And I really want to make sure it gets done now, not only why we have the money, but, you know, I feel like it's my job, it's under my watch that those things need to get done, because it's part of the building, you know, so there's that. And then Denise has continued to work on the RFID project, and especially this like final step of changing the hold slips from just a little flimsy piece of paper like falling out of your book to something that like sticks on the end of your book and that can be like really clearly read. And I would love to hear people who place holds, what your guys' thought on that is, if you've noticed.
Yeah, I've used it, and
Yeah.
it's great. You need to weed out the rights.
The rights.
Yeah, because I have RIGH, they only use the first four letters, is it? And then there's a number and another, and it's all these rights in a row. And I have to always bring out my card to see what my number is. So if you could just say Don, this is yours.
Dawn.
No.
So it's the first four digits of the,
First four letters of your last name, last four digits of your library card.
Yeah,
Last
so
four digits
I'll
of
work
your
on memorizing.
yeah, memorize that combo.
But no, other than that,
Yeah,
no, the wraparounds are nice, because I don't have to worry about them falling out.
right,
So that's good.
right.
Is that hard to put on?
It's a little more time consuming, but
It is.
I think the benefits of how nice the shelves look, you know, and everything's in order, and I think it's well worth it.
Well, so I gotta ask, so here's all the rights in a row with the bands on them like this, and they're all exactly at the same height. How do you do that?
We have a ruler in the back room.
Yeah.
No, because we flip it up on the side and you put it at the very bottom of the book, so it just
okay.
Yeah, so they're just very
naturally.
consistent.
Yes.
I'm just raggedy on
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they're miracle workers in the back. Yeah, well, we knew that, right? So we're still the beta site for that.
We are.
Right?
No one else has started it yet.
And when will other libraries start doing it?
At least 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's a little bit more work on us until, being the beta site, until other people kick in. But then once that's done, then we're kind of golden.
Exactly what is this label supposed to look like now?
Well, it actually sticks on the end of an item. So
It will stick out so you can see it rather than have to walk up.
yeah, so like if this is the end of the book, your name will be like vertically right there.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So it should be way easier to find your stuff, because you can be back from the shelf like 5 feet and like kind of see your name. It's really nice,
It's also a lot easier for staff to keep the shelves in order and,
which is an awesome side benefit.
yes.
Some of the other libraries, you can't stand back 5 feet.
Well, I mean, you know, you can be this close and you can still read it very well too. Yeah, unless you've got like, you know, close up.
So the advantage to this is most to be easier to see and keep the shelves near, is not kind of making the movement of books faster or anything like that, because you have to you still have to put that whole thing on.
Yeah, we still have to
the name
put
on.
them. Eventually, if, say one of our patrons put something on hold from West Lynn and West Lynn pulls it off their shelf, they'll be applying that hold slip. So when it comes in, we won't have to. Right now, we're doing both ends. We're doing ours and we're doing all the other libraries. But eventually, things will come in already, and we just put them right on the shelf.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
And that is the second.
So that, and that's,
Yeah.
Because we're the test site, that's why. But it really does, I think, make a difference for finding items. So it's a benefit to both, patrons and staff, but mostly it's for staff. I mean, patrons, we want to be like kind of patron focused, not, So, and then speaking of staff, Erin is going to be going to the first ever Leadership Institute of the Oregon Library Association. The reason it's the first one is that up until about 10 years ago, we would send people from Oregon to the Leadership Academy that the Pacific Northwest Library Association held. And it was a very good training, but I was involved in the leadership of Oregon Library Association around that time, and we felt like that was the only benefit of being associated with PNLA. And so we pulled out our membership out of it after long, arduous, agonizing decisions that took years. And then people have been trying to replace that Leadership Academy ever since. So they finally got it all figured out, funding figured out, and all that stuff. And it's going to be taking place over the course of like several months, where he has to read stuff ahead of time, and then he'll meet up with people at the annual conference down in Eugene this year, of the Oregon Library Association, and then eventually he'll go to Pendleton for like a week with just a cohort of people. So I'm really stoked that he got accepted, because it was my idea that he apply, because professional development for all my people is kind of what I'm thinking about. And then on top of that, he went and got himself a grant to help pay for it. And he still has his name in for another grant too. So Larry, I guess I lied. We do some grants, but they tend to be like those small, like that kind of thing. And Erin's really good about thinking about that kind of thing. And then Gina, our head of adult services, will be going to the big annual conference of the Public Library Association, which is only held every other year. It's in Philadelphia this year. So it's her first really big national conference, which is really, really, really fun. Those are fun to go to. And this one's more fun, I think, than the American Library Association one, because it's focused entirely on public library stuff. And so you don't have those academics hanging around and stuff, because who cares what they think? No. Well, it is really appropriate, so I think she'll get a lot out of it. And we'll talk more about strategic planning later. We have just been going gangbusters on our programs. If you look at the statistics, just in children's alone, we had like over 1,300 kids attending programs, 43 programs in the month of January, which was about 12 more than this time last year, but it's like double the amount of kids than last year, which is just crazy. I mean, no wonder it's noisy at the library, And, we still are struggling with our young adult programs, but we do have that teen advisory group that has just started up, and we do have some really fun programs planned with their input. So like if they have helped plan it, they have to attend it. That's the whole concept, And then we've also had, as we were talking about with the wine tasting program that Jan did, we had like a will program, and like over 70 people
Yeah,
attended.
yeah.
Did you attend that
I
one?
did that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Trust and wills, yeah.
Yeah, and so we're gonna do that one again in July, because I just know that there are people that didn't come, or because they couldn't make it, or they thought it was a different day. I had people show up the following day like, where's the will thing? And it's like, yeah, you missed it. So we're gonna do that one again, but we've had a lot of really good programs. Gina and Jen are doing a really good job planning those. And then I'll come back to statistics in a minute. The collections work, our collection development, you'll remember that we were doing the pre-processing with Ingram, which is our main book vendor, and it took months and months and months and months to get our profiles set for like how we wanted all these different little collections that we have to look. And that finally got done. And then when that got finished, we could talk to another unit at Ingram, which is their opening day collection people, that's what they call it. And so even though this is not an opening day collection, it's kind of like, it's a big amount. What they do is they talk to you, and then they actually look at what you currently own, and then according to the parameters of what you've said you want, they will send you lists of suggestions. So we're trying to like fill in holes and all that kind of stuff, so that, especially with our adult nonfiction, so it can be more robust. But the foundation gave us a gift of $50,000 to put towards this. And so we're finally, as of last week, starting to select from those holds and place those orders. And so that was why we wanted pre-processing done, so that when all these $50,000 worth of books come in, they're like more or less shelf ready. You know, they don't need as much work as if we were taking care of everything. So that's why we did that in that order.
So when you say filling hole, how do you determine a hole? I mean, how do you decide holes in the collection? Is
Well-
that based on what holds are asked for from other sites, or?
I mean, it can be based on a lot of things, but like, it's mostly people coming in and saying, hey, can you help me find, you know, such and such? But, you know, so that's where Gina will have her own ideas. But like the people at Ingram, they're going through our collection and they're like going, oh my God, they've got nothing in the 150s, for instance, right? Here's some books that we can recommend that are just like, you know, the books to have for the 150s, whatever. So they're going through area by like, you know, in the nonfiction by, you know, break it down by the 100s and send specific lists for that. But they'll also send like, you know, graphic novels, lots of fiction, you know, that kind of thing. So they are sending us lists that are 150% of the budget that we have told them that we can spend, so that we have lots of choices, you know? And then Denise works with the selectors to make sure that like we're tracking all this appropriately. So, yeah,
Sounds like that's the fun part, right?
I know.
Fill the
This is
holes.
when I would like to be a librarian
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
It would be really fun. But my job is just to make sure that they've got the tools they need so that they can do the fun stuff. Yeah.
I have a question about one item you skipped over, about the new module in the new city software for scheduling. What's that all about?
Well, so the city, the big city, is buying like a whole new business system that will cover like everybody, you know, that will be for like taking payments, keeping track of finance, keeping track of all personnel stuff, and wages, I mean, everything. It's gonna cover everything. And one of it has a module, it has like a little part of it for scheduling, but it's not very robust. But they have an option to buy like a very robust module if we're interested. And so we sat down with the project manager for the city that's working on this and looked at what it offers as features. And it offers everything plus more than what the thing we're currently using for scheduling. So, and everybody was happy with it, like the police are happy to trade out what they're currently using and start using this thing. So all of us decided it was worth the money to kind of go in on that, split the cost of it, and get this module that they wouldn't have gotten unless we demonstrated interest in it.
So this has nothing to do with checking out books and.
No, nothing to do with,
Okay.
no, it's scheduling of people only. And as you can imagine, probably like the police and the library actually have the most complicated scheduling, since we're all 7 days a week operations.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 24/7, we're not that, thank God. But it's still, and she's our scheduling, you know, angel and star. And so if we can make it more easy and provide staff with like easier interface to look at things with as well, then it just is very much worth it. But this is all back end stuff.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yep. We had our retreat. You know, the library is no longer one of like the stated goals of the building's done. So now I'm off kind of the goal list of the city goals, which is like awesome place to be, you know? It is, it's like, everything's good at the library. You know, I didn't really have to report too much more than that. So the retreat went really well, and it's like, we're on a biennial budget, so this is just an off-year update. It's not really like, let's discuss every single thing, it's just like, made sure that the city commissioners knew what was going on, and then, so that was pretty easy. And we have been, starting to advertise for, library board replacement, but no bites that I could tell.
I have a nibble from out, well, I don't know if they're in our district or not, but he's interested. I'll have to ask him, like, do you think you're in the, he's more close to Estacada. He lives on a mountain overlooking Estacada, but he does all of his stuff here in Oregon City, so,
He has to live within the district,
well, I
or
don't-
our service area,
I
yeah.
don't know where actually the district is, because he could look into Redland over there.
Yeah, I don't know either,
Yeah,
I mean,
But he's interested.
well, if you could get an address to us, we could let you know.
I'll do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all we need, Dawn, so that would be great. And then as far as like door traffic, I mean, we are definitely seeing a lot of door traffic. 35,500 people, compared to 27,000 last year at this time. So we're starting to finally compare kind of apples to apples on that. So we opened a year ago, mid-October, so by January, we had been open for like 3 months, you know, or 2-3 months. So we're starting to be able to compare, but still, door traffic is very good. Circulation is going down, but we've talked about that. Circulation has been going down, and that follows a national trend of circulation going down. So there's a lot of people in the library, and they're using it just kind of the way we intended, which is why we've got a laptop bar and why we've got a computer area and why we've got lots of outlets for people to plug their laptops into and their phones into and stuff like that, and all kinds of comfy chairs. And that's how they're using it more than really checking things out.
And does door traffic count include the programming?
It does.
So, because I think as you noted, you've had more programs and more people attending per program. I mean, all the
Yeah.
program attendance is up.
Yeah, it actually includes everything that's in the library building. But like for the First Friday films that are off-site, that figure would not include that. Yeah. Good question.
I was just gonna ask about the, so is it because people are getting books on Kindle and those types of things?
Well,
What do they
it's
think
kind
the
of hard
cause?
to know from what I'm showing here. I mean,
Right.
this shows if people are getting books through Library to Go, which is, you know, our ebook thing, then, you know, that number is going up, not as rapidly as probably people think. But because it's so easy to get books, you know, from Amazon these days, you know, the ebooks and all that stuff, I mean, you just like push a button, and some of them are just like 99 cents, so it's not, you know, it doesn't take a lot of money to do that. So I think, yeah, a lot of those people have a lot of options on how to get materials these days. So I think that's some of what we're seeing. I wouldn't conclude from this that people are reading less.
Right,
Yeah.
but the Library to Go, or, well, for the Audible part for me, but, is that countywide? Is that a countywide program, or is that a Oregon City?
That's a countywide thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's available countywide. Now, like, I could add titles to that, and we could have our own little fund that went towards adding more titles to that. But it is countywide, and we have one librarian who selects those titles, and she, you know, it's based on the holds and stuff like that, what she buys. So that's how that's going, set up. So it's pretty seamless for us, so. So yeah, lots of programs, lots of internet, lots of registration. We did over 1,700 new books materials last month. Earned a lot of money in fines and other things. So, I mean, yeah, we were up almost like $1,000 in fines, but that partially has to do with when Denise makes deposits. Like, it's hard to tell like what happened this time last year, is what I'm saying, you know? Because it's kind of a timing thing as well. So that's kind of my statistical and narrative report. Other questions? Yes?
I was in the other day, and all I was doing is returning some books, and I went over and just got some magazines, just looked at, them, you know. And I didn't notice a lot of people in the periodical department. Do you have a lot of traffic there, or is there none at all? Well,
Oh, no, I think that there's people who solely use the Carnegie. They like really, really like the Carnegie, and that's the only place they ever really go. And there's a lot of people that just drop by and read newspapers and magazines. And that circulation we don't track at all. So there, you know, that's kind of an unknown.
part of the door count, though.
It is part of the door count, yes, absolutely, yeah. But it's got a nice atmosphere in there, and so it's a little bit more or less, you know, crowded or on different days, but I think we get quite a bit of traffic in there.
We do.
Actually, especially when we turn on the fireplace. Oh my God, people love that fireplace.
Of course.
Yeah, it's so cozy. It's so cozy.
Just a comment about, I'm on Facebook and the library, and it's remarkable how many things are being posted out there, and it's, I think, if I remember right, it was about 2,000, now it's like 2,500, or?
Yeah,
did
it's-
I mean, is that correct? Like in the last month or two, it's gone up that 500 or so?
I'm not sure it's been the last month or two, but yeah, it's pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could look it up. Well, that's Aaron, who's going to
Okay.
the Leadership Academy. He is
Yeah, I mean, it's
completely
great.
in charge
It's
of
great.
that. And he's also all over like Twitter and Instagram. What else?
Email? I mean, who's doing, does he do the? emails?
Pinterest. He does the email newsletter.
Yeah, I know, he's doing it weekly.
Yeah. Well, the weekly thing is kind of a conglomeration of all the list of programs or some such thing.
It is, but it's only that week, which is
Yep.
really nice.
Yeah.
People
Oh,
that-
good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. So yeah, he does a great job with social media. He is seriously all over it. And he also went to a marketing for libraries conference probably about 6 months ago down in Dallas that he got a lot of really good info on. So this is kind of one of those things like, oh, they didn't teach us that in library school, you know, and there's so much stuff they don't teach you in library school when you work in a public library or any kind, I guess, but, you know, security, marketing, you know, all those kinds of things, maintenance on a building. And marketing is so, so important these days because we're competing with everybody's attention for all this other stuff, you know? So I think he does a really good job.
There's 2,641.
I mean, I looked just like a couple days ago, and it was 2,500, right? So I mean, it's growing,
Yeah,
and that might be a good statistic to report also.
okay. Okay, so that's that.
Anything else from the first part of the library director's report before we move on to strategic planning?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so strategic planning, so I sent you a couple of documents. One of them was this, Denise sent you an email, this strategic plan timeline, and I think it was one with like all kind of a lot of extra stuff at the
Stuff,
back
it is,
end of
yeah.
it that you can ignore. You're probably like, what's that? But, so we've been working with Darcy Hanning from the State Library, and, what we've been doing in the last month was involving staff. So last week, we were closed half a day, and we had, how many people?
27?
It's like really close to 30, remember?
Yeah,
Yeah, how many people do we employ, 35?
It's probably 36.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we include all of our part-time people, we have 36 total, and so 27 or 28 of them came to this meeting, and Darcy walked them through like strategic planning timeline, and we talked about mission and vision, and we looked at these things called service responses, which we are following a book called planning for libraries, right?
Planning for results.
Planning for results, yeah. Which is kind of like the easy strategic planning Bible that a lot of libraries have been using. Not all, there's more than one way to like, skin this cat. But so the service responses are just like these big areas of service that you can provide. So for instance, literacy to young children would be like one big area. And literacy in general to like adults and older individuals would be like another area. Immigration and citizenship would be another area. Like if you lived in an area where you had lots of immigrants, then that might be something that you really focus on. So what you're supposed to end up doing is have the stakeholder meeting, which Larry's done a lot of this in his past, probably maybe differently, but again, the concepts are the same, in order to get input from your community so that you can make sure that the library is going the direction that your community wants it to be going. Those two things need to be in alignment. The library needs to be going the same as the community is going. It needs to reflect the community. It needs to reflect the wishes of the community. So we started with staff, though, and getting a bunch of feedback with staff. And we started it with a small group of staff, our full-time people. And then the next step was with like everybody. And it was great because everybody really participated and they really enjoyed participating. I was kind of floored, honestly, because strategic planning is a little dry, but Darcy did a really good job and we had, lunch and this and that. And it was just really, really enjoyable. So, we also had those like little community questions that we gathered input on, which I would say is probably one of the less valuable aspects of what we've done.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. So we heard a lot about, and Darcy said, don't say it that way. But I put it in the category of, yeah, that's never going to happen. But like Starbucks at the library, yeah, that's never going to happen because we have a coffee shop across the street from the library that I would never dream about putting out of business. And besides, it is really hard to make a coffee shop inside of a library, make it go. It's just really, really hard. So, and what space would I give up? Where would we do that? So we got a lot of answers, responses like that we just, that's not going to happen. But we got a lot of good responses about why we like people like Oregon City. What one thing would it
make your life easier.
Make your life easier.
And then make the community
Why
better.
do you live here? Yeah. So some pretty interesting responses. And then from here, so what I was saying is from here we take the stakeholders group and then we have some meetings with them. About an 8-hour total, I think, would do it. Then that goes back to staff and we refine it into something that then you guys would see again. And eventually we could even get it adopted by the city commission if we wanted to, because it would be our direction from 18 to 23, it would be a 5-year plan.
So what are the product you see coming from the stakeholders group? Are they doing vision, mission, goals, objectives, the whole thing, or just still some big picture that you'll then kind of?
Well, kind of all of the above.
Okay.
So we would really like some input from them on vision, mission. We would like some input from them on goals. And we would like them to look at the service responses and select service responses. And I think that's kind of one of the biggest things, because that's a huge deal. If we think our job is early literacy and the community thinks our job is ready reference, and I mean, you want to it's not that you don't do ready reference, but if the community thinks our main job is ready reference, but we don't see it that way. And you're supposed to have 5 main areas that you really focus on, and it doesn't mean you don't do the rest. If somebody comes up and has an immigration question, of course we answer it, but we don't need to specialize in that here, So that is that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of thing where I would really want to be sure that we are on the same page as the community. So, so I gave you guys a list of who Denise and I thought should be kind of like stakeholder, either individuals or groups. And I really wanted to run that by you and get your input on that and your feedback and your approval to move forward, because we need to, even though these meetings will be a couple months out, like people are just so busy that we really need to kind of like send out a doodle poll or something pretty quickly and get people to get this on their calendar. Because I know, I mean, I've already got stuff planned for next September, so, you know, I'm assuming everybody's like me, or even farther out. I mean, you know, some people do that.
So why don't we talk first about the general categories or people, and then we'll come back to library board members, because we do need
Okay,
to do that
that'd be great.
too. But
That'd be great.
folks have any comments, or just, you can see the list of who you're suggesting as stakeholders.
Yeah, so I can just run through these really fast. I mean, starting at the city level, I wanted City Manager Tony Conkle, and I think that's really important for him to be involved so that he knows like what the library is doing. And then one commissioner, and Brian Shaw is the commissioner that was on our building committee, and I think knows the most about libraries. And so I would just feel I would really like to invite him. And then our network group, now that's the county group that helps facilitate all the centralization, right? Greg Williams is an awesome, you know, director of that group. And I've already talked to him about this. He also would like to do some countywide strategic planning and come up with some countywide goals for all of us in Link. And so he would really love to be part of our process, so that would facilitate that process. And then Denise and I have been doing all this work, so we want to stay on it and make, you know, crack the whip and everything. And then we were thinking maybe one of our full-time people, or 30 or 40 an hour a week people, one of those, plus like one of our under 20 hour a week people, because I do think they bring different perspectives to the table. And all these people have already been involved to some degree, so they would be, I think they would love it. Then we would like a business owner, at least one. And the one that immediately came to mind was Danielle Walsh from White Rabbit. Now, she used to have her shop right over here and by Singer Hill Cafe, and she is a former high school librarian from Milwaukee, but she also now has the shop and the bookstore and coffee shop right on Main Street, and I know she's plugged into the Downtown Oregon City Association. And she's just a lovely person. Barrett is collaborating with her on an Alice in Wonderland story walk for spring break. And she's like gonna give us coupons for free drinks for summer reading, our summer reading packets and stuff like that. She's just really lovely.
Only way to read is. Right.
Then we were thinking about somebody from the police department.
Why?
Well, I think because we would like them to understand that we're in the same business. And, you know, creating a better community.
There you go.
And that, like, I think we should collaborate more, but they're always kind of like, it's always very reactive. We only see them when something bad's going down. But like last summer, remember when we did that Chiefs competition of stickers on the cutouts? I'll have to show you pictures, Larry. It's really cute. They loved that stuff. I mean, they loved it. And so, I mean, why them above and beyond any other department is a great question, but Denise and I kind of instantly both thought of them. So that was one of our ideas.
Is the fire department gonna feel left out?
No, because they're not city function. They're a district. They're a county, you know.
As is Greg Williams.
Yeah, but he's connected to the library, right? You're not going to
saying.
win this one, Don.
Just thought this one through, Don. Too
I
bad.
know,
I try to think these things through before I bring them to you guys.
I'm on the rope.
But I mean, you know, that's why we're asking. Feel free to push back on any of this stuff or suggest more, you know? And then I already talked to Harriet, and she's willing to like give up some of her time. If she's available, she is going on a month-long cruise to the Baltic. Baltic Sea, yeah, I know, right? And then we were thinking of somebody from the foundation, of course. And it could be Karen. Karen is now the secretary, not the chair. Pam Bloom is the current chair. Either one of them would be fantastic. So, then we kind of got into some like, let's get some feedback on this. I wouldn't mind somebody from the school, but like who? And I would love to be more connected with the schools, but it's been very, very, very tough to get connected to the public schools. We've had a lot more interaction with St. John's, which makes sense, St. John's the Apostle, because it's like so close. That librarian now brings in every single class
Yeah.
once a month. Every single class once a month. I know. We're still training her to like make sure that she lets us know that it's happening. But, so it would
I
be,
think that's a great, I mean, I think it'd be great to get somebody from the schools.
Yeah.
I was
well,
thinking,
from which school, like though, like do you think?
I was thinking, what about kids, like having parents or something? 'Cause that seems to be kind of maybe missing since we do so much
Yeah.
for the children, that maybe somebody that like a preschool or kindergarten or
Yeah.
grade school teacher
Yeah.
maybe or something.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I mean, I would agree. I think having some connection with schools would be helpful. I'm not sure how to answer the question of who.
Yeah.
I don't know if you start with the school district and let them, because I don't know whether you want to either go at high school because you want to focus on young adult, or you
Right.
can try to get something more at the elementary level.
I don't
think
know.
the childcare, preschool level would also be good. Again, it's even less organized.
Well, yeah, and we fill that niche. I mean, for
Yeah.
early literacy, that's what, your public libraries are doing the job of early literacy that the public schools are not doing because they don't go that low. Because preschools are very hit and miss. You see what
And
I'm
are there
getting at?
any, and I don't know if there's any Head Starts.
There is something in
I
Gladstone.
think there is, yeah.
There's not an Oregon City Head Start, okay.
But the schools have libraries, right?
Yes.
Okay, how is that managed within the schools?
So
I mean, is there somebody?
it's my understanding
District level?
that there's somebody at the ESD, the district level, that is the only librarian, and she kind of like goes different places at different time. I think she does like a lot of the ordering for all of the schools, so she's spread very, very thin, and that at the schools, they have like paraprofessionals and volunteers. Now, the paraprofessionals may be very, very good. It just, I think, depends on the school or how long the person's been there or whatever. Yeah. So,
I'm wanting to know if that person, it seems like a person that you'd be working with, the district person.
you'd be surprised.
Okay,
We've tried.
okay.
She's at the ESD level though, so not even at the school district, Oregon City School District.
Well, the ESD is like,
But it's countywide.
well, no, she's Oregon School District. But she works out of
Oregon City.
that building, the ESD building, I think. Yeah.
It just
I
seems
don't
like
know.
there should be more synergy, more.
Oh, yeah,
togetherness.
right? I thought so too, but it's been, very difficult to grow it.
What about Clackamas Community College? Is that,
They have a Head Start program there, don't they?
I don't know.
I think they do.
But Clackamas Community College? Like, who specifically at Clackamas? I mean, like, what kind of,
I didn't, because they have their own library.
yes, they do.
there, so
And they don't work with us
they
either.
don't.
Yeah.
Is that,
Well, it's kind of difficult because they're like very driven by their curriculum. And so their materials support their curriculum.
Right.
And then, those classes, some of them are like always the same, and then some of them change from year to year, and instructors change and what they're doing and everything else. And we get no communication from that about what they've got going on. No, none.
That
And
seems
that,
like something that should,
no, but let me tell you, teachers never communicate with their libraries, probably even up there, they don't do it. Right? Am I right?
You're right.
So, I used to work in an academic setting. Larry's very familiar with the academic setting. Worked there for 30 years in one? Yeah, at least. And if you can get a professor to talk to you about what they want in the library that will meet the need of their classes.
Well, they'll
You-
talk to you about what you don't have
Yeah.
that they needed last week.
Yeah, they needed last week, but they didn't let you know that, so you had no chance to order it. And by the way, my class is coming in to get lessons on like how to use this database in 10 minutes. So teachers are like notorious because they're very overworked. They can only focus on what's in front of them. And we would love to have better communication, but I'm not sure we're going to get it through this process, is what I'm saying.
I mean, what I hear is some support for having somebody from the school system and
Well,
some
we can-
connection,
we
but I
can
don't know.
ask, you
I mean,
know.
I don't know if you go like, just even try to get the assistant superintendent and kind of,
Well, I know Larry Didway.
yeah, I would go there.
I know a couple of the principals.
I'd probably go at that level and
Okay.
try to make a pitch. I mean, it's a short-term commitment. It's not, like hours and hours.
It's not too bad.
I mean, this project could be a catalyst to,
One would like to think so. You never know, right?
maybe.
The next area that I had a question on was like Rotary or Optimus or, I'm a Rotary member. Optimus is big in Oregon City. What else do we have?
Chamber.
Chamber.
Yeah, Brian Shaw's very active in the office.
Brian Shaw also, yeah, he's good because you kids too. So I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna be like the president of Rotary next year. And so, I mean, I'm already here.
Congratulations.
Oh, yeah, thanks. You're really funny. But hey, and Pam, I didn't realize she got that award.
Yes.
That's
yeah,
so
that's great,
awesome. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So we're not too worried about the Rotary or the service
I
organization.
think it's a good idea.
I don't know if it's a good idea. I
Yeah.
don't have any strong feelings one way or
Okay.
the
Because they're
other.
service organizations and they, by their
Or Lions,
by their
Optimus.
constitution, they should care
You're a
about the
lion?
community.
And Oregon City Business Alliance.
Oh, and you're OCBA too, yeah. OCBA might be kind of interesting. Rotary, the reason I mentioned Rotary too is that literacy is one of its like main pillars of things that it supports.
Well, that's definitely.
And I'm planning on milking
yeah.
that for all it's worth, I have to tell you, at some point in time. Ken?
Let's say I locate somebody, let's say a school teacher,
Uh-huh,
who should she contact?
me.
You?
Yeah.
And when this group, or if this group gets together, how big a project is it?
Well, like I said, this is like an 8-hour commitment. It'll probably be over,
Can't hear anything you say.
that's why.
Push the button.
Get a little closer to.
Probably be over like 2 days, not necessarily 2 days together, but we don't want them too far apart because then we're gonna have to like review everything we already talked about.
Sure.
And, I was thinking like if we could do, a half a day during the week and then like either a weekend day or an evening or something like that, kind of split it up so it like puts different people out at different times, it's gonna like, let's make everybody hate it.
They probably
That's my
will,
goal.
because some people have worked during those times.
Right,
Yeah.
but some people, like Tony, like, if he's not in a meeting, he could come do this, you know what I'm saying? So that's why we have a bunch of dates that go all the way into June, right? That we have selected as possibilities, and what we're hoping is to put out a doodle poll and find out when people are most available, and then just like select, 2 4-hour slots or whatever, that's gonna work for the most people. And, there might be people that can't make it to every single, maybe they can make one but not the other, or maybe we get somebody else, I don't know, if they can't make it at all. That's the thing, we have to start somewhere, and then we'll figure it out.
So by member here, you mean patron or customer? Is that what member is?
Rotary member, that was supposed to be
Oh, that's supposed
Rotary
to be
member, I'm
Rotary
sorry.
member. Oh,
That was
Rotary
supposed to be
member,
up on that.
Okay.
And then we thought like a teenager would be really good, yeah. Because if this room is just filled with a bunch of old people, that's just not gonna reflect our
I
community.
beg your pardon.
I was looking at myself when I said that.
What about somebody from our other half of our district outside?
Specifically,
Well, the strategic planning, I would think, it doesn't just begin and end in Oregon City. It also should include our whole district and what gonna happen out there? We're gonna have another branch out there? You know, what's gonna happen? Somebody could probably feed us a little bit of
Sure.
life about that, but
No, I thought about that after I wrote this list. I think we need to get somebody from the unincorporated section of our service area. It could be any number of these people already,
Yeah.
you know, but I think we need to specifically make sure we do that, yeah.
okay.
So Scott suggested, and I had sort of the same thought about, did you have some patrons? And I was particularly thinking of parents with kids, because that seems
Yeah,
to be the
I
group that's
wrote
missing,
that down.
And whether it's someone of your regular attendees at one of your,
So at some of the story
Children's
times or something like that,
story
yeah.
because that seems to be the group that's missing the most here, are people who are just general citizen users.
Noted. I think it's a great idea. Anything
Any other
else?
groups that I think should be?
McLaughlin Association?
Well, I thought about them and then I was thinking, well, are they more special than any other neighborhood association?
Well, yeah, we've had so many dealings with the McLaughlin Association, I thought we ought to at least mention their name in the.
We thought
consideration.
about it.
Yeah, okay. I'm not,
What do you think about it?
I don't know.
I guess I would say the same. I don't know why that neighbor association's more important as a stakeholder in use of library services than any other.
My thought on that
neighborhood
is,
association.
as I think about it, that one of the other neighborhood associations away from the park here, something up on top of the hill someplace, way down.
Might be good to
Land's
get
End Road or
representation
whatever it is, I
of-
guess it
yeah.
might be. I don't know the names of all the neighborhood associations, but I know they're out there in the new. the
Yeah, no,
news.
we can find that out.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, well, we'll start working on this.
So in addition to those, we also want at least one library board member from here or more. So I already took the prerogative of asking Larry if he was interested, just because we already had a
And
lot
I
of
would
experience.
volunteer for that, yeah, definitely. If you're-
So he said yes, but, and if anybody else is interested, I think that's okay also. We have more than,
We can't have more than one, because you guys kind of represent the community already, so that would be fine.
and another person I thought of would be Lara Ingram as a former board member, but she
Yeah.
also fit that kind of parent
Yeah,
child if she's,
I thought of her too. I think she's gonna be like really hard to snag, but we can
Yeah.
ask. Yeah, she's got, she's a librarian at Oregon Episcopal School, and she has 2 young boys. Charlie is like 7, and the other one is like 12 or something like that. So she's got that, and she's sharp. And fun,
and fun, so.
yeah, you know, as a requirement. And Larry, I think you'll just bring so much. Besides all your experience strategic planning, you also kind of bring new eyes to this, you know?
Well, that really is sort of what I was worried about, is because I don't have the background of the community,
I think that's okay. I think it's good. Yeah,
but I'm certainly willing.
good.
I mean, because I think there are a lot of people here who have the background of the community, and so it's good to have somebody sort of newer in the community who doesn't carry.
All
sometimes
those
you carry your
years of
history
history,
with you.
yeah.
I carry my weight with me, not the history.
Yeah.
But you come with fresh eyes.
Sometimes it's the same thing.
Yeah. And I think for somebody who hasn't, I think for people who came through all of the building process, that's still kind of like fresh. And I think for the two of you coming, like the building's done, now we're moving on, gives a different kind of perspective.
2 of you?
Larry and
Oh.
Nick.
You pointed at me, I was in, Smith.
Larry and Nick. Newer since, it's
Yeah.
not been so.
I had a question.
Sure.
What's the board's role as this goes forward? I mean, will we review it once it comes together? Would that be the main focus?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all the documents would come back here for.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Any of you guys here 5 years ago when we did the other one? Yeah, it definitely came to the board. And if you look at our current strategic
Yes.
plan, it's got this list of, what did we call them, guiding principles or something? Yeah, and the board specifically came up with those. That was the board's contribution to our current strategic plan. And I remember, and I think they're lovely, and I would really like to keep those.
I think that's a good idea. I mean,
Yeah.
I've done planning before, and I think, because that way you can hold it up against those principles, and it's a really good way to.
Yeah, and we could take a look at those again, and that would maybe be another thing that we could do, is like look at those. But I remember DA, it was really, we came up with all these concepts for the guiding principles, and then he's like, but we gotta come up with really good verbs, really good action words, and so he just like pulled all these action words, those are all his. I'm like, okay, do this, don't do that. You know, I could come up with nothing. And he just came up with these really descriptive, good action words. So
That's why we have ignite
exactly,
imagination.
right?
Embrace.
Yeah, yeah, that's where they came from. DA.
Okay.
DA came up with those. And yeah, definitely, this is all gonna get reviewed with you guys, embedded with you guys, because, I mean, ultimately, you are like our community liaisons. And so, we can have the stakeholder group, but I just really want to get a lot of, input from them, and then take that and do something with it, and then have you guys look at that product and revise until we're happy with it.
If we're gonna have more than one, I wouldn't mind volunteering for that.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah,
Great.
okay, great.
cool. You at least represent a different age demographic, I'm sorry, I appreciate than the other 5 of us.
Okay.
Anything else on strategic plan questions?
And just a background question of something Mo said that kind of frightened me.
Uh-oh,
I thought in listening to public radio that all, at least high school level schools had libraries with professional librarians. That's not the case?
no.
Oh my. That, just a question. I'm surprised.
Yeah, no, Oregon is one of the worst.
They're one of the first to get cut.
Yeah. So for some reason, I gave communications its own page, which I don't have a copy of. Where is that? Of course. Oh, wait. It's back here. All right, so Harriet,
So-
could I invite you to come forward and introduce yourself?
I'm Harriet Schul, and I'm the current chairman of the Friends of the Oregon City Library Board.
Is your light on with your mic?
No, it's not.
Okay, there we go.
Thanks. Thank you.
One more time.
Your name again, yeah.
Yeah, for the mic.
Harriet Schul, and I'm the chairman of the Friends of the Oregon City Library Board, and I'm a volunteer, and I'm managing the team of the bookstore.
She
the
just turned it
bookstore
on.
That I would hope that some of you are
She turned it
familiar
off.
with.
Harriet, you turned it off.
I turned it off. There.
Pointed at my
You see,
It keeps floppy. Here.
it's okay. It's on light.
You have to force
It is
it.
now lit.
It doesn't bite.
Usually people want me to quiet down, so it's unusual to be asked. Anyhow, again.
It's all for the recording.
Yes, I know. I was on the board for a long time. Harriet Schul, chairman of the chairperson or chair or whatever the current titles are of the Friends of the Oregon City Library Board, and I'm coming up on my 19th year volunteering in the bookstore.
Wow.
And I have a concern. I don't see many of you in the bookstore, and I don't know how many of you come. I know Don comes in because he brings his dog, his
Lady
best
Bow Wow.
friend.
Lady Bow Wow. She picks out books and toys.
She does. and she likes to be petted. She gets a lot of attention. We managed to raise over $100,000 for the library. We started off the fund for the foundation, giving it to the foundation. I figure over the almost 20 years, it'll be 20 years in December, that the bookstore has been in progress, that we have done somewhere between 200 and 300,000 easily that we have given to the library for various things. And I don't know how much that the current board or some of the other board members, I know when I was on the board, I was amazed at how little the board members knew about the bookstore, which is the one ongoing fundraiser for the thing. And there was going to suggestion, Mo had said that she thought it would be nice if one of you came to our board meeting each month. Over the years, it's been that we come to your board meeting and we make just a little brief speech, whatever you want to call it. And it would be nice if, maybe you can't come every month, but there would be someone who would be assigned as a liaison to come to the Friends of the Oregon City Library Board. And for some of you, it might be convenient because we meet just before you do. We meet
Yeah, it's pretty
on the
easy.
second Wednesday at 3:00. And
At the library.
there she leaves our meeting if we talk too much.
Yeah, I do.
So if Maureen has to get there on time, you would be able to get on time and you could just join us at 3:00. And do any of you have any questions actually about the Friends of the Oregon City Library and what we do in addition to the bookstore? Because we don't just do the bookstore. We
So-
try and raise money.
So last year you weren't able to continue doing the farmer's market. Is that going to be true for this year?
That's because it requires over 2 days for a volunteer to participate in that. Because they have to come in and pick up the books after one of the staff has gotten together all the boxes of the books. And then they have to take it up early in the morning, set up the tables, take it down, bring it back to the bookstore. And quite honestly, I think there were 3 of us who regularly did the farmer's market. And quite honestly, I wouldn't mind doing it once every 6 weeks or something, but I'm not about to give up every Saturday, and then all of a sudden it rains, and we never take books to the farmer's market when it rains because they don't like to get wet.
They don't.
And we especially don't like them to get wet because then usually they have to go to the dumpster.
Yeah. So in addition to having the bookstore, the Friends, because they're at the bookstore and then resell these things, they also take all the donations that would come to the library, just go straight to the bookstore, which, if you know anything about donations, saves our staff so much time. And some of the stuff is great for reselling, but if it's not, they take care of throwing it away for us. And a lot of stuff is just, I mean, honestly, it's just not worth anything. And people don't really understand that, you know? So that's a huge,
If I was to make an estimate of the amount that the dumpsters in our parking lot get, it would be at least 25%. And in some of the donations that come in, we open the box, we look at it, we realize that there are little black spots, places, and they stink,
yeah.
and they just go right out to the dumpster.
So you mentioned the farmer's market. One of the, what these guys have started doing, and you guys have probably noticed, is there's a little kiosk-y bookcase in the lobby, in the foyer, and they are raising more through that than they made at the farmer's market with a lot less effort. And so that kind of is replacing that.
See, Harriet, my
don't rain.
my secret is out because when I have to do my big Christmas shopping for my family, which is now pretty extended, it's getting on to be 30, 40 people out there, what do you get them, you know? Well, See's Candy used to handle it, but not anymore. That's getting too expensive. So I go to the bookstore. And I have such a wonderful time, me and the dog, picking out through all these things like, oh yeah, she's kind of into knitting like this. So I get a knitting book for this girl or this cousin. And it's such a wonderful thing. I spend $30, $40 and everybody gets a book and it's great.
Don also supports it. He picks up cans.
I'm doing that. Yep. Picked up one today.
We
only
pick up
found one.
bottle drop.
Yep.
We're one of the features things, so your cans, we can give you a little sticker to go in your bag.
And all the cool jazz albums that are in there are mine. I've donated those too. So you
Nice.
you can get in and get some LPs, yeah.
Very nice. LPs are in, you know.
They're coming back.
What's old is new again. The Friends pay for all of our cultural passes annually, and they just reimbursed us for our latest cultural passes that we just got, the state parks and the Oregon Historical Society. They just reimbursed us for a Cricut machine, which is a fancy cutting tool that you can program to cut things. Which we will have that available for use at the library at some point when we figure out policies and such around it. So the Friends have always helped us with programming, with equipment, the cultural passes, as long as we have done that. They're just the reliable, you know, funding source that they're always saying to me, what do you need money for? What do you need money for? We need to get your request. So right now I just wrote to Barrett and said, the Friends really can't wait to like give you money for summer reading. How much do you think you're gonna ask them for? So like, you know, come on, let's ask.
We actually also started the foundation. There were a number of us, there were some who did not want to and some who did. So there were a number of other people with me that started it, and it rolled off very nicely on its own.
Yeah, so bringing this full circle, Karen Martini is the person who said, hey, do you think there'd be somebody on the board who would like to be a liaison to the foundation? And I was like, okay, wait a minute, if we do that and we kind of flip the model that we've had, then we're gonna need a liaison to the Friends. And so I kind of wanted to bring this to you guys this month. This is like a lot more kind of roles off-site that than we've talked about before, but you wouldn't have to come every month. And I think it would be you get the fuller picture when you attend the meetings, you know, than just these guys reporting like, yeah, it's the same old thing this month. I mean, that just is not really telling you what they're doing, you know? And our support groups, including you, I mean, we would be nowhere. The library would be nowhere without its support groups. So,
We also will be bugging you later in the year to attend several events because it will be the 20th anniversary in December of the bookstore.
I just want to state for the record, I am a dues-paying member of the Friends, and a regular at the bookstore.
yay, Scott.
And I'd encourage anyone who has to come to the bookstore.
Oh, by the way, we are co-sponsoring a Good Morning Oregon City with the Chamber on April 4th.
Yeah, I think it's
Yes,
April 4th.
April 4th. So it would be nice to see a few of you there too. Yes,
I don't know if I would show up at a meeting, but if I wandered into one of your meetings at 3 o'clock before these meetings, would
That
I
would be fine.
welcome?
you
Okay.
would definitely be
That'd be
welcome.
fine. We are not a closed association.
We meet upstairs in that long skinny conference room on the second floor of the library. So yeah, you can just wander in, that would be great.
And at the current time, we have, well, yesterday we had 18 volunteers. Somehow or other, I have 3 new volunteers coming to work with me on Friday, and I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but I had 3 new ones coming in one day, so.
But
Group
this is
training.
good because we need, you know, for the Friends to be sustainable, they constantly need like new faces and new volunteers at the bookstore.
And we also encourage you, when you are in the library, to check the atrium. We have books there for you to buy. And I try to bring on books that would not necessarily be in the library. It's like a week ago, I brought in probably 6 cookbooks and I checked on my way out and they're all gone.
Oh man, cookbooks and craft books are so popular in Oregon City.
Because I know that most of you, if you want to read Jim Patterson or some of the others, that you'll check them out of the library. But they're still cheap because we sell some of them for only $3, $4, or $5.
Yeah, which is a great price.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Harriet.
Thank you, Harriet. So I think I heard Ken say he's,
Might wander in.
might wander in, that qualifies as liaison to me.
And I think, Nick, you're familiar with the store. You
I
have
am.
to move stuff.
I have,
Yeah.
I have. I've been in
He's
the,
been
but
one of our
only
movers.
hefting bookshelves around. And things like that.
Nice.
Maybe pleading for you because they've been cut. There's been major construction in that building. And we have been without one of our rooms for a while, and so stuff's stashed all over, and we will be reorganizing it in a week or so. And I don't know if we're gonna have some labor.
You've been warned.
I'm sure that you will be told by the coffee group.
I know, the coffee group, of course.
It's your connection to the Andersons that does it.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then you also want to liaison to the foundation,
I
is
would
that
really
correct?
love one, and they don't meet every month either right now, because they're kind of waiting for us to go through the strategic planning process in order to respond and make sure that their goals are in alignment with what the library's direction. They meet, when they do meet, is on like usually the last Monday evening of the month. And so like this month, it's the 26th of February at 5 PM. Usually it's later, but it's kind of always in that vicinity. So,
Okay. Anybody have a particular interest in?
Not right now.
Okay. I could probably do the foundation.
could you? Okay.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
I couldn't do the Friends because starting in May, I do farmer's market on Wednesdays.
Right, yeah, no, definitely.
We struck a farmer's market, we had volunteers
Yeah,
available.
it's a different farmer's market.
It
yeah,
is a
so-
lot of labor, though.
Yeah.
It really is, yeah. And then the next, thank you very much, you guys. And then the next topic, we had Nick volunteered to attend our last LDAC meeting, Library District Advisory Committee. And not only did he like walk out still alive and didn't die from boredom or anything else, but he would like to be considered to replace Don at that. Don is like barely able to contain his joy, I know,
I passed the hat.
yeah.
So, do we need anything official to say yay?
We do. This is one of those things that has to go to the city commission, then it has to go to the Board of County Commissioners. And so Don, you're still on the hook
Yeah,
for a while. But yeah, so we need a motion, actually.
So I need a motion to approve Nick as our representative to LDAC.
I moved we had Nick be a representative to LDAC.
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded to appoint Nick Dirkman as our representative to the LDAC board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I'll have to abstain since I'm on the LDAC.
I thought you were gonna say
One abstention. Abstentions, one abstention. So thank you. And do you have a little update on where all of this is since the last meeting? We had quite a lengthy discussion about the master order.
I do not have anything to report on the master order. If we get lucky, it might become less of an issue than it's been. Let me just leave it there. I don't really know anything for sure. So I'm hoping that issue will kind of go away. The report, it was just fine that I didn't fill out every single line because we truly did just talk about the format and the content of the report itself. And a lot of people had good feedback on it. And so that will be revised again and we can do it again. And I think next time it will be better. They'll be separating out capital from operations. It will be a lot more clear. And Nick's had some more ideas as to, even if they don't specifically ask it, like what kind of information I can give them regarding like in-kind contributions from the city. So, yeah. Anything else that we want to report about that meeting?
Like I say, it's the first time in months that it actually stuff seems to be moving towards a positive
Yeah,
some kind of a structure type of thing that's gonna happen sometime in the future, so
Yeah.
it's good. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, my impression was it wasn't as, it's not as urgent as it appeared at the last time we were
Yeah.
together. That it's gonna take some, there's a process it's gonna have to go through before it gets to the point.
well, they lengthened the shut-off date on the lawsuit for one thing, so, you know, that deadline was taken out, so now we
Yeah.
have more time to talk about things.
Yeah, the master order deadline got extended to November. But even with that period of time, I'm kind of thinking that, from what I've heard through the grapevine, that some of the problems around it might just kind of resolve themselves rather than everybody having to go through all kinds of hurdles. So we'll see where that lands. But I don't have anything specific to give you today. Yeah.
Plus, to me, it also seemed like the potential, if the reporting that they've created captures the correct information, that could be like your baseline, and then you can see, do things change if you change the master order, you know, rather than always anticipating what the problems were gonna be, you would actually have some information and data.
Yeah, I don't
so-
think the report is a bad thing, it just needed some tweaks to it to be more useful. I think we're
But it
getting
was
there
sort
on
of this
that.
all anticipation of what the change might mean
Yeah.
in the absence of, you know, who knows, could
Yeah.
just do nothing. So, okay, great. Anything else on LDAC? Thank you for your service and
You're welcome.
hanging in there.
Which is not over yet.
Which is not over yet. I guess you keep reminding me, it's not over yet.
Yeah, really.
And so we're up to future agenda items.
I know, we're just gonna plug along with
Probably the
strategic
same
planning. And I can keep you posted on that and LDAC and,
Is there room in here for a comment?
I don't know, Don.
Well, I was fooling around on our websites, you know, trying to find a book. I went through the city and it said log on here, so I logged on there, and it said, oh, you gotta log on here, so I logged on there. Then I had to go to a third place to log on, finally had 3 logons. I thought that's a little bit much, but that's okay, I got there. But what I was seeing in the meantime out of my side view was a picture of the Carnegie without the new extension on it as a representation on the city's thing of our library. Look, you know, the 1912
This
version,
was on the city website?
city website, yeah.
Okay.
So
We'll look for
I'm saying
that.
they could easily update that picture.
Yeah,
I wish they would,
I think I have mentioned that before, but we'll see.
yeah. That's all.
Thanks.
So in terms of future agenda items related to the strategic plan, I guess you can decide if you want us to start sooner on looking at the guiding principles, just to kind of get some juices flowing,
Yeah.
or waiting either way, but we could do that maybe next.
Okay.
Oh, I do have one more thing. The fellow has decided he lives in our district, and he has submitted his application as we speak.
Great.
Yeah, so
Very cool.
Good deal.
he's a smarty. Runs his own business.
That's what we
from a-
need.
Runs his
More
own business from a
smarties.
log cabin on top of a mountain out there. It's wonderful.
Well, there's a demographic for you.
Any other last comments or agenda items or thoughts? If not, the meeting is adjourned at 6:20.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Great, thank you, everybody.